Hello, my friends. Welcome to Canadian Corner, where I review the best and worst of Canadian content and show you things that you might be potentially missing out on because, Canadian content unfortunately is not that popular around the world. Today, we're going to be reviewing one of the most unique Canadian films ever. Some consider it to be one of the best Canadian films. It topped a list of critics' choices in 2015. And this is a film called I'm going to massacre the pronunciation, but it's a film called Atanarjuat, The Fast Runner. I'm going to be referring to it from now on as The Fast Runner. And it's a film created and produced and directed by a man called Zacharias Kunuk and his production company. It came out in 2000. And the reason it's so unique is because it is a film that is filmed entirely in Inuktitut, which is the Inuit language, probably one of the Inuit languages, but it's the main one in Nunavut. And that was the first film that it had ever been filmed entirely in that language. It's hard for me to say, so you can look it up if you're interested in that language, but pretty interesting. So I watched the film when it came, and another unique thing about this film is that it was a big hit in Canadian cinemas and internationally, maybe not internationally, but it was like one of the most financially successful Canadian films. It made over $2 million in the cinema, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a film entirely in the Inuit language about the Arctic. So that's wild. And I saw it. I don't even know why I saw it, but I went to the cinema and I saw it. And there's one thing that is very memorable that I'll talk about in a moment that I've remembered until this day. But I should say I attempted to rewatch it for this channel, and I did technically rewatch it, but it's really hard to find online now. And so I found a version of it, but the subtitles weren't synced. So the subtitles were about like 10 minutes after what actually happened. So my understanding of what happens in the film, the plot, might be a little bit not exactly the best. So I'm gonna tell you what I understand the plot to be, and some of the reviews that I read about this film said that it's confusing even when the subtitles work. But the basic thing is that there is this guy, he's got like a kind heart, and he falls in love with the leader of the group's daughter. And he says to him that he wants to marry her, and the leader says, okay, you can marry her, but you have to marry her sister. And her sister is like incredibly jealous of this relationship. So they have some kind of conflict. And the main character, who that's the title of the film, the word that I can't say, the main character and his brother are sleeping in this tent. And this is the first, and it's non-linear, so that's also doesn't help with understanding the plot entirely, especially when the subtitles don't work. So the first scene is actually the guy and his brother being in a tent, and they get attacked by some people who have been kind of irked on, or not irked, but urged on by the wife that's not loved, basically, and she's jealous. So she says that she's been beaten by this guy and that they should take revenge on him. So they go. There's like a group of like maybe three people who attack the brother and the guy in the tent while they're sleeping, And so they are able to stab the brother and kill him, but the other guy, the main character, he he escapes and he runs away, but he's naked, and it's the Arctic. I mean, it's summer in the Arctic, but it's still the Arctic, so there's ice and water everywhere. So he's running across the ice, and the first like 20 minutes is that like him running, just running across the ice. And I know the actor probably didn't do that in one take. Like, I don't think anybody could run across the ice in 20 minutes. But it's such a powerful scene. It's kind of like the Schofield run. And if you don't know what the Schofield run is, in the film 1917, there's a character named Schofield, and he's tasked with giving a message to the commander of this unit. And if he doesn't get the message in time, hundreds, if not thousands, of men are going to be slaughtered. So he's very, very motivated. So he runs out into the first wave of the attack, and there's like explosions everywhere. And the explosions are like dummy explosions, but they're like happening right next to the actor. So you can see the terror on the guy's face, and he runs into a guy. So it's one of the best moments in cinema. So I think in The Fast Runner, this bit is also one of the best moments in cinema, because you can't really fake a guy running across the ice naked, and you can see everything. It's not like they hide anything, because they can't, because he's naked, and so he's being chased. And yeah, then the plot gets more complicated, because this whole story is set about 1,000 years ago, and it's kind of somewhat realistic, but there are mythical elements to it and magic and all of that. So I think that it's a worthwhile film to watch, because you're probably never going to get the opportunity to watch a film in the Inuit language apart from this one. So as I said, I did read some reviews of it, and for the most part, the reviews were incredibly positive. And I was reading the reviews on IMBD, and I think a great part about that website is that it started, I think, in the mid to late 1990s. So they have reviews from right when the movie came out in the 2001, 2000 like era. So basically, when I saw the film, people were reviewing it. So people, as I said, generally were positive at the time. Obviously, it was a big hit, and people really liked it. They talked about this run. I mean, I've remembered. I didn't remember much about the movie except that run. So if you see that run, you'll remember it for the rest of your life. It's an awesome moment of cinema. But there were a strong minority, let's say, of people who did not like the film, and generally there were two criticisms of the film, which I'd like to talk about. The first one was that it's too long, because the film is over 3 hours long, and apart from the running scene, it's not actually that fast paced. But I think it's crazy, because there are films, like blockbuster films, that are almost as long as this film was. And I think in the early 2000s, to have a film that was so long was kind of unusual. And the fact that it's in a foreign language for English speakers, for native English speakers, it's kind of difficult. I don't think that native speakers of English were used to seeing films where you had to read subtitles for 3 hours. I think that time period kind of got more and more people used to it, because Pedro Almodovar was also very popular at that time. So people were getting used to it, but it still wasn't like the normal thing. So I think that's why people were criticizing the length. But I think if they were transported to 2026 and they went to the cinema, they'd be quite surprised by how long some more popular entertainment movies are. The other criticism that people have, and it's kind of an ironic criticism, is that the film was not filmed in film, right? It was filmed digitally. And I don't know, I might be wrong. You can correct me in the comments, but I think most films now are filmed digitally, right? Because the cameras have gotten much better. And you have to be like sort of a very unique auteur like Christopher Nolan to actually film in film now. So, but at the time, it was kind of unique thing. And the cameras, like this is about, I think that they had been making this movie for a few years before it came out, like 5, 6 years. So these cameras were basically like 1995, 1993 technology. So they don't look great. And in the version I watched, it especially didn't look great. And I believe that they did this for money purposes because it was cheaper than, you know, filming in film. But like, because every film has a budget and you're filming in the Arctic, so it's already all very expensive to make this film. So I think that's why they used digital film rather than film. I'm not sure how to say that, but digital camera rather than a film camera. But because they did that, the focus is actually on the characters and the story. And I think it actually works because when I grew up in Canada, but I grew up in the southern part of Canada where it does snow occasionally and the winters can be a bit harsh, but nothing like the Arctic. I've never seen the Arctic. So for me, the Arctic is like this exotic land. And you can make like really beautiful documentaries about the landscape of the Arctic, but I think the choice to use digital cameras rather than film cameras emphasizes the fact that this is a story about these characters and they live in this environment. And for you, it might seem weird that they live in the environment, but for them, it's completely normal, completely natural, no problems whatsoever. Um, so I think that it is a good aspect of it. And I only have like a few other thoughts about this film. Like, I don't understand why it was a big hit at that time. And could you make this film again and it'd be a big hit in Canadian cinema? I don't think so. I think it spoke to like a special moment in time, and why it was so successful, I don't know. I don't know. Will we ever see another film in the Inuit language? I hope so, because it's really interesting and it helps preserve the culture. Oh, so another thing that I wanted to mention connected to that is the reason that this film was made is because Inuit people wanted a movie for themselves that they could watch and they could see themselves and their stories reflected in the movie. So basically, it's a movie made by Inuit people, with Inuit people, and for Inuit people. And I think a lot of the criticisms from the early 2000s of this movie don't recognize that. Like, they weren't trying to make this big, big. I mean, I'm kind of exaggerating when I say it was a big blockbuster hit because it wasn't like, Avengers level or something. But by Canadian standards, it was a hit. They weren't trying to make a hit. They were just trying to make a film that spoke to their own culture for their own culture. And I think from that regard, it's successful, and it's successful for all of the other reasons. And that run is an iconic moment in cinema. So if you haven't seen it, you should at least watch the first hour where you can see a naked guy run across the Arctic and you will feel so cold. I remember being in that cinema, I think it was in the summer, and I was like, oh, I'm so cold. Oh my God, that looks so cold. So yeah, that's what I think about that movie. I don't really have any other thoughts, but if you've ever seen the movie, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section. And if you've never seen this movie, go out and see it. I would recommend it. It's a ride. If you like what I do, please subscribe to the channel. My goal is to get to 20 subscribers by the end of June, which I think is possible. To get to 3,000 views by the end of June, also possible. And to get to 40 viewing hours by the end of June, also very possible. And the reason I'm doing this is because I would like to be the most prolific reviewer of all time. It's just a weird side quest that I have. And to do that, I need, at a minimum, 15,000 reviews. And my goal is to have 1 million reviews. And I don't think I'm going to make it, but I can do at least 15,000. So if YouTube sees that people are engaged with this kind of content, even in a very modest way, I think that does help my mission. So if you agree with all of those things I just said, please like the video, please subscribe, leave a comment. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.